but then we animated it. We like threw up like, here's the study and here's like things bouncing around and all that jazz. And it freaking tanked, man. The standard live classes with here is a PowerPoint presentation,
Yeah,
here
it's
is
a
a talking
webinar.
head. It's a recorded webinar. That is doing better than like the super high level animation job.
Dude.
It's like authenticity meets value meets like time to value in a way that doesn't make someone feel like they're listening to a sales pitch. Can you like tell them something useful really quickly?
Welcome to the In the Pit podcast. I'm your host, Cody Schneider. This podcast is brought to you by Swell AI. Swell AI is a platform for content marketing powered by AI. Go to swellai.com to sign up for free. Let's get started with today's show. Let's jump into it. Dude, I was listening to this episode of like a different podcast the other day, this weekend, and it just like was them meandering and like circle jerking each other like for the first 5 minutes. Like, how can that be good for retention? So anyways, give me a banger. So right from the beginning is what I'm trying to say.
You should have guided me more, Cody. But I've
Never
been
guide
watching
you.
YouTube videos and they literally, it's just a dude talking with a background. And I don't like, they have like 10K subscribers and the video has like 100K views. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I even doing with my life? Like, we have like,
Dude,
we're hiring
yes.
out teams of editors and we're like trying to create the perfect hook. And then some dude with like a freaking shitty ass iPhone is just recording on the side of the street in
Bro, that
Colombia, and
content is
that's
going viral too. Like that's the thing that I don't think people are realizing is like the more raw and like I think content goes in cycles, right? Where it's like we want really refined and then we want really unrefined. But like I think everybody is over influencer culture and they're like tired of like this like edited version of reality. And so they want this like, raw version is what they're actually looking for. There's this bodybuilder. I'm not even into bodybuilding, but I watch him. I can't remember his
Okay.
name right now. But
Oh,
like it's just you know
yeah.
who I'm talking about? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll put him in the show notes. But like
Okay.
I don't know what it is. He just like it's him going, it's like a daily vlog, but it's him doing the
Mhm.
thing he loves and he's super knowledgeable about it. And it's really interesting. And I think people are looking for that.
What
It's
is
like
it? Is it the young dude who people thought
yeah,
was
yeah,
on
yeah. He has the
steroids?
long hair. I'll look. If I just go to YouTube, it'll bring it up.
He's
But
massive too. There's something to
yeah,
be said
dude.
about having good camera press.
Well, I feel like it's like how the dudes. Yeah, well, the camera presence is he takes up the whole damn screen.
Wow. Okay, that's hilarious. So Cody. Okay, so I don't know if you've been watching our YouTube videos, but we we do live classes, right?
It's
We've been
Sam
doing them for
Sulek
like
is his name.
yeah, Sam.
Yeah,
Yeah, the authentic stuff. Okay, Cody,
yeah,
we've been doing live classes for like the last 2 or 3 years, right?
yes.
And we just created a new version of the live class, and it's like these async live classes. We need to come up with a
Oh,
better name for
interesting.
them. But they're like way better. Like we took like your standard PowerPoint presentation, but then we animated it. We like threw up like here's the study and here's like things bouncing around and all that jazz. And it freaking tanked, man. The standard live classes with here is a PowerPoint presentation,
Yeah,
here
it's
is
a
a talking
webinar.
head. Yeah, it's a recorded webinar. That is doing better than like the super like high level animation job.
Dude,
And
I think this is
I
what
don't
people want though. They like they got tired. They got tired of
mhm,
refined shit. You know all those like viral clip like there's all these like agencies now where it's like
mhm,
they take your podcast and they'll make like these
mhm,
like clip animations types things. Like
yeah.
the data we're seeing and what we're hearing from people is like those are performing worse than just like I stitched together a crazy hook. I
Mhm,
provide some type of insightful value, and then I have like a call to action to go on further, right? And
mhm.
like, of course, it's like it's the classic, just like sales, it's the marketing like sales mechanism that whenever you're trying to script anything, but that when it looks like it's shot on on an iPhone is performing better than all this like edited stuff, which is super interesting.
Do you think it's like the authenticity? It's like authenticity meets value meets like time to value, you know? It's
Thousand.
like in a way that doesn't make someone feel like they're listening to a sales pitch. Can you like tell them something useful really quickly?
Totally, totally. I think it's also like when it's longer form, it's like, how do I
Mhm,
get that like dopamine hit every, whatever that is, 3 to 5 minutes so that it's like, oh, I'm still here, I'm still here, I'm still here, right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I'd be curious to see if like doing that same thing that you did the live class, but like have it
Mhm.
be them literally like walking around, like in different locations. So like Eve Henry and she's like, whatever. She's going to like a park and then she's going to a yoga studio and then she's going, like what her normal day is. And it's just like almost like that blog format. Like I have a it's strong gut feeling that that would probably like go viral and be fire. So
Ah, shit. We should totally try that. Sorry, I love these conversations, Cody. Okay,
dude,
so
I
we've been
live for
like,
it. This is what I miss when we work together, man, because it was just
mhm.
these all the time. So anyways, I'm stoked we're doing this.
It's like we've been going down this path of like higher and higher and higher quality. It's like higher production value, more
Yep.
cameras, more lights, blah blah blah. And it's almost like we need to like take a what's the most authentic situation we can put someone in and talk about like a concept that's really important. Okay.
Totally, totally.
I'm gonna
Like you're at a
we're gonna
grocery
try
store
that.
and you're looking at supplements or something, right? And it's
Hmm.
like, okay, I don't know. I don't know. For you guys, it's probably tough.
Wow, I
But
love that.
but
No, that's
some
great.
but or like you're at an organic food store, right? Like a natural
Hmm.
grocers or like, here's how you like, here's how you look for bread or whatever. Or like here's how like here's how to know it's certain like the organic means this, right? Or whatever that is. But something like that, I think that could be super interesting. And that's what people are looking for, especially in the medical space. 'Cause it's like general knowledge is everywhere, but that expertise knowledge. Remember who was it? One of the practitioners was like, the best conversations are the ones that happen behind closed doors that like nobody is ever hearing, right? And it's like
Yeah.
I keep thinking about that of like, how do I take those conversations and then put them in public and also
Hmm.
chop it up into all these small bite-sized pieces, right? So I can like, okay, whole other thing. Sorry, not to digress even further, but I just saw this company, dude. They're making like multiple channels for each of the sorry, they're making multiple accounts for each of the channels that have For You page content. So they make like 10 TikToks and 10
Hmm.
IG accounts and 10, like basically what they're doing then is then they go and they make clips, every one of those accounts, but they do them in different editing, like different like caption fonts, like, different, or sorry,
Hmm.
font styles, etc.
Hmm.
Like basically what they're doing is they're taking that same piece of content, but they're doing like the guy said he's doing like 5,000 clips a month across all these different channels for a single company, right? But they make the handles. And so it's like Rupa Health clips, Rupa Health reels, Swell AI clips, Swell AI reels, etc. And then it's just like chopping up that content and distributing it.
Hmm.
And then you just use the social media scheduling app to actually do this, right? But anyways, like what they're seeing is like, okay, this just creates a higher end value, which means I'm going to find content, banger content faster. And then I take those bangers and I just remix those over and over again. So it's like, okay, cool. Like out of those 5,000, maybe 100 hit. Okay. Well, like, let's just change the hook variation. Maybe we'll do a little bit different animation. And then we just recycle that same idea over and over again across these other accounts. And he's like, the data he was saying was like, we're seeing some accounts do like 150 million views across all these socials. So just another thing. I'm
Wow.
going to start testing it. I'll talk about the data once I have it. But this was just like, something else I saw somebody doing that was just crazy to me. So
That's crazy, Cody. I need to try that. That's fun.
I'm going to do with this
Philip's gonna
podcast.
hate
I'm just
me.
thinking about like, I'm going to have a
Mhm.
VA and all that VA does is just create clips like all day long. They just like find like clip moments and then they post them across all these different channels. And it's like 3 to 5 is what we're finding is like that kind of magic number for You page content. Like that's the most that you can do on a like a TikTok. But if I have 10
Mhm.
TikToks and I'm doing 3 to 5, that's 30 to 50 different clips that I can test, right? I take those and it goes to YouTube Shorts, it goes to Reels. You can do that same thing across all the different platforms.
Is it just me? I don't know how much time you spend, like, actually consuming Twitter, Cody, but I'm either stuck in some social loop of everyone has a VA now, or all of a sudden everyone has a VA now. Because I keep seeing this pop up everywhere. Mm.
It's both. I think we just live in we live in a bubble,
A
right?
bubble. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I always have to remind myself, like, yeah, the average person has never used ChatGPT. Like we were just back
Mhm.
home, like for Christmas, and like, you know, my girlfriend's family, like not a single one of
Mhm.
them used it, right? And like we both work in tech, like we are, of course we're talking about it. They know it exists, but
Mhm.
they don't have it on their phone. Like they're not interacting with it yet. I don't think they're going to touch it until it becomes like such a like accessible thing that it's just like, omnipresent in everything that they do. But it's going to be a background thing more than ever,
Mhm.
or more than anything. Like, it's like telling
Oh,
people, like, "Oh, you're gonna adopt mobile." It's like, yeah, but like it took 5 years to get like the average person into, an iPhone or like anything that was, comparable from an Android perspective. Like I mean, and most of the world, they're just getting to base with mobile, right? Like if we
mhm.
look at any of the developing nations, they're just getting to scale with like, mobile penetration being at its max. And we're what, over 10 years later? It's 15 years since we had this like new base level technology. So I'm looking at this as being kind of the same like trajectory from adoption, maybe a little faster just because it's moving so quick. But
That's fascinating. Did you see I swear someone might if this is wrong, someone's gonna say this is wrong, but I didn't OpenAI just hit like $10 billion of revenue or something?
it's something
Um,
crazy. Yeah. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I just
they
saw the same thing.
I thought their retention was gonna be shit. Like, when it first came out, I'm like, "Wow, this is really cool. This is super hypeful. I think this is gonna change the world," but I think that this product as it is today, like, the retention isn't actually gonna be that good. Like,
I
I
mean, we're having
wasn't
people telling us they're
actually using
canceling
it.
their
Mhm,
ChatGPT subscription to use Swell, right? Like, it's a very specific use case, but
mhm.
they're like, "Yo, I was doing this in here before, but now I have a template with you guys. Like, I'm just trying to automate this process. I don't want to chat with AI, right? Like, chat with
Mhm.
AI, I will like say this until I die, but like chat with AI is like a great sandbox. But like when I'm trying to get a workflow done, like what
Yeah.
I'm really trying to do is build an automation that's like
Mhm.
a pre-saved output template. So
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, it's like automation versus learning. I wasn't actually using Chat GPT for anything except I started coding again and it's
nice.
fucking amazing for programming. Holy shit. Like it
Dude,
is
it's
so much
insane.
better than Google just being like, "Hey, I'm trying to do this. What does that mean? Can you
Totally
explain this
agree.
to me?" blah blah blah. But for absolutely for like automation, like, "Hey, I want you to go through this podcast and spit out a bunch of, pieces of content for me to use. Like, I don't wanna have to
100%.
talk to someone about that, I just, like,
No,
want that to get done.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And so like, so we just shipped this in Swell. We're calling it prompt chaining, but like
Okay.
just how you have a chat with the AI, like
Mhm.
you can save that chat
Mhm, and
template,
then
right?
reuse it. Mhm.
And so hold on, give me 1 second.
Do it.
What the hell is going on? I'll edit this out, but
You
thought
can
I was on D&D, but I guess I'm not.
Yo, Cody, just train of thought while you're gonna
Oh,
edit this piece out.
oh,
We should run
sorry,
this
give me
for,
1 second,
like
Kobe.
you're good. Can you hear me still or no?
Yeah, I can hear you. It like
Okay.
connected to my AirPods. I don't know what. All right, sweet. I'll edit
Wait,
that or just
you're
leave it.
good.
Kind of funny. Anyway, the yeah. So like we're calling it prompt chaining, and basically the idea is that I can like chain together a chat that I would have to create the
Mhm.
output that I'm looking for. But I can have all these
Mm.
pre-saved things in there, like, hey, my tone style and voice is this, right?
Mhm.
And like now make a blog post outline based on this transcript. Oh, and now I want you to write a detailed blog post, right? About based on that outline in the tone style and voice that you like provided previously. That can be saved as a template. So like a chat that you would have with ChatGPT
Mhm.
is saved as a template. And then all I have to do is I provide it raw material. The analogy I've been using is like, hey, we take oil and we turn it into plastics and gasoline and diesel and all of these other things. That's all content marketing is, right? It's like take ideas, like, long form ideas and like chop them up into these outputs that are native to whatever the platform is that I'm trying to do distribution through. So that's kind of where my head's at with it all.
That's fascinating. Cody, I have a question for you while I got you here. So there's different like modes and places you can use AI to create content right now, right? Like you got blog articles, you got pictures. Like pictures are super easy, right? Like the very first thing I did when AI came out was I created an Instagram account and was like, I'm just gonna freaking post pictures all day long. But then like I immediately realized like the arbitrage for that went away in like a month. Like all of a sudden everybody was like creating photos. I'm curious where you see there to still be like arbitrage in the world for people to use AI to like create content. Like my brain is thinking like books, like basic software, like it's becoming really easy to just clone certain apps. I'm curious how much arbitrage you think there is still in like articles and like getting stuff to rank for SEO and just like where it still exists in the world.
Yeah. So I think the general knowledge, like the LLM has general knowledge, right? And like that's
Mhm.
going to become a commodity. The and it's just a matter of time. Like for SEO, I think we have like an 18-month to 24-month window. Like in that,
Okay.
that's when we started Draft Horse. That was my view. I still have that, right? So where all of the like differentiation is going to come from is it's the same thing we've always talked about, right? It's like industry experts that have domain knowledge that the AI just doesn't conceptually understand if I try to prompt it. So where I'm thinking about it is like, okay, cool. I want to write an article about like, let's say like marketing for hotels or whatever, right? And I'm going to go talk to like the 10 like best hotel marketers in the world. And I'm going to have a 20 to 30 minute conversation with all of them. I take those transcripts and then I say, okay, AI, make a blog post outline for like this keyword that we're trying to rank for. I want the source material that you pull from. It can only be this content, like these transcripts that I provide you, right? And so that industry expert knowledge is going to become more and more valuable. That's the only way that like, because the AI is only going to ever write to the bell curve, right? Like the average. It's never going to do the tails. And like, that's where you get most of the time, that's where all the value comes from is the tails, right? Like, why do we do 100 different ads? It's because 2 of them are
from the best. Yeah.
And so anyways, this is where I think this goes. Like, it's just going to be another tool in the writing process. Like, it's what journalism has done for forever, right? It's like, what does a good journalist do? They talk to experts, they get their insights, they organize them, they then write an article based on a templated output that they know will provide value to the company. And then they just do that process over and over again. Well, okay, we can just speed that process up way more, quickly and effectively.
Fascinating. It's like the knowledge and insight is still important. And then the AI allows you to build things off of that faster.
Extract that insight, right? And as context windows get bigger and bigger, like it's going to become more and more valuable. Like, so say right now I wanted to go write a book about telehealth. Like I call, top 100 people into telehealth space and I'd interview each
them
for an hour. And then I would say, okay, AI, pull out like the 20 chapters that are interesting, like based off of the source material. Like I put it in the one, like in the Claude context, their max, or I'd put it into like GPT-4, the 128K context limit. So I put all those transcripts and I'd be like, okay, you know what I'd do actually is I'd have it rank stack the ideas. So I'd be like, what are the ideas that are referenced the most? And then like rank stack the insights. And then based on that, I would be like, okay, cool. I'm going to write a book based on this. But I'd say, all right, like here's the outline for the book. Here's the chapter titles. Write chapter 1, for this, right? And then keep it in that context window. And then you basically like that would pull out all of like that. You would have, it would be raw, but it would like be the first draft of this book would be done. And then you could layer in like, okay, here's the tone, style, and voice of the author. Like here's previous writing that they've done in the past. Or even just like, here's a transcript of them talking. Now write it in that tone, style, and voice that we provided, but it's still using that source material. That's 100% doable right now, like in this moment.
Oh, that's what. Okay, so I'm rereading How to Win Friends and Influence People, like after a decade. I haven't like listened to it in like 10 years. I'm just like going through it again. And they describe exactly that process, like at the start of the book. They're like, this is how we did it. Is like we interviewed 100 people and I hired a researcher who spent a year and a half going through all of the transcripts of all the famous people, like trying to figure out how they get along with people. Like this is like a super common thing, right? It's like you're reading a book and like you might have a person who's like, I have knowledge, but then how do I gain knowledge around me? And then they go in and they write up a book based off of this like collected assortment of like facts that lives in their brain and these other people. So what you're saying is you could just not mass produce books, but you could produce books with AI by just interview people, extract the data, and then use the AI to then be like, okay, off of this data set, go off and create things.
I mean,
that's fascinating.
Itself, right? It's like go talk to all the oil and gas pros and be like, hey, like what I'm going to do is I'm going to aggregate all these conversations and I'm going to synthesize it down for you. And I'm going to, if you take part of this survey, like you'll get this free, but then I can go and I can sell that for 25 grand to its, a C-suite individual that needs to have industry insights. Like that itself is a business, right? And like that now, like there's people doing that. I guess the thing that I'm thinking about more and more is like, what are these things that like are already happening and how do we just augment, how do we automate as much of that as possible? Like surveys is a great example. I think I'm probably going to build this, just like I'm going to hack it together because I'm starting to program more too, just because it's so easy, But surveys, what I'm really trying to get from the surveys is like, what is the insight? Like, what is the knowledge from that? So like, if I'm doing customer research of like why you churned, right? imagine, okay, they do this survey and I get whatever, 200 responses. I can go through that manually and try to pull out like, what are the repeating things? Or I can say, okay, let's put this in a context window. I'm going to rank stack
Mhm.
these. What are the top reasons that they're churning? Boom, boom. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hand those insights off the product.
Mhm.
Product then goes and they solve those problems, and I've just reduced churn, right? So
Okay.
like that is happening now. Just
Mhm.
build the AI solution for it, and that's a massive company.
Can I give you a slight direction there too? So all of our calls are recorded,
Yep,
like in HubSpot.
yep,
I want something to just extract all of our sales calls and then spit out, here is everything that they said. So our sales team is doing that manually right now. So they talk to a user, the user says, "Oh, I can't activate because you guys don't have this lab in New York." And we're like, "God damn it, okay." And then we take that and we create a feedback ticket. So now we have these feedback tickets they're manually submitting into HubSpot, and then we collect those, and then we look at the data every week and we say, these are the reasons why people aren't activating for a product. This is a huge process. It's a pain in the butt. Like, we don't get really good information off of that. I don't know, like, what one of the things we need to do to level up our sales process is extract all of that and
yep.
then run it through AI and then have the AI tell us, hey, this was said this many times, and then just feed that to our product team.
Dude, straight up, I would just like you could do this two ways. You could have it where it's
Yeah.
like each conversation I extract the insights, and
Hmm.
then I then take all those insights from, we'll say 100 calls,
Hmm.
then say, okay, like rank stack these insights. And when I'm saying rank stacking, what that's doing is like it's looking at how often that's referenced. And then
Hmm.
one is the most referenced, two is the second most referenced, three is the third most referenced, right? It's just
Hmm.
I can't remember who showed me this, but it's basically a linguistic tool. Like a linguistics idea
Yeah.
for like what's the most important like word within a sentence or within
Hmm.
a corpus or a body of work. You're just using that same, but the AI is really good at this. Like it's really, really good at being like, oh, this thing is the most referenced thing, right? So we can
Hmm.
make that the priority. But so you could do that, or the other way is like just take all the transcripts and then you put it in a
Hmm.
massive context window and you say, okay, weekly, we just go like we put it into the 128 and we're like, all right,
Mm.
extract all the knowledge from this. Like what are the top 10 reasons that people are saying they are, they aren't activating or they're not buying. And it will just spit those out. And then that gets handed off the product. And what you could even do further is if it is a transcript and it's timestamped, you could be like, okay, also include the timestamps where this is referenced so that
Hmm.
the product team can then go
Go
back and
back
listen
and
to those
listen.
conversations exactly. And so then it's like, okay, cool. I can like go and find these pieces. That would be way more tricky, just like figuring that out. But anyways, just an idea.
I'm so excited, Cody. We're currently hiring like a revenue operations manager. We just realized we have like almost 20 salespeople and the shit's getting too chaotic.
Totally.
And we're like, time to level up all these processes. It's gonna be amazing.
Cool. What do you want to talk about next? I know we had personal branding. I think that's
Mhm.
what the year of 2024 will be. Like when we look back in 2025, it's going to be like I'm seeing every founder and C-suite individual
Mhm.
spin up a podcast, and then they're like, how, basically they're trying to get all of these conversations that they're having in public in the form of like clips, tweets, LinkedIn. Like this is our current thesis right now with Swell. Is like, how do we
Mhm.
own as much of that process as possible? Just because like it's the same. It's such a high leverage thing that they can go do, right? Like it's like why are we even having this conversation, right? Like you and I. Like your goal is like long term, you're trying to build this personal brand so you can go do the next thing, whenever that is in the future. It also gives you more leverage like within the organization that you're at. But like, so as a founder, it makes sense because it's like, oh, I have an excuse to reach out to my
Mhm.
target customers and have conversations with them. I'm like, hey, Greg, come have, jump on this call. I want to interview you about your success and blah, blah, blah. And everybody likes talking about themselves. So it's an excuse to get them there. That creates inbound. It also creates all this content. And then as like
Mhm.
an individual at a company, I just talked to this. I was on a podcast like 2 weeks ago, and I was saying this to her. I'm like, as you grow like your own personal brand, like wi- within the organization that you're a part of, you suddenly start to get more leverage. So like that
Mhm.
gives you like leverage to negotiate higher salaries. That gives you leverage, like, they don't want to get rid of you because you have all of this like we're seeing this more and more. We're like in B2B, like you could use that in negotiations, like with the
Mhm.
contracts that you have. Like, oh, you have 50K followers on LinkedIn, you get like 100 like engagements per post that you do. Like that can be a factor of why you're getting paid for and be like why you're at that company. And you're going to see
Mhm.
this happen, I think, this year, even like more and more with all this. But I'm curious your thoughts there and like how you're thinking about it.
We've started getting like so many people at our company to start tweeting. Like we got our chief of staff to start tweeting. Tara finally passed 10K followers. Philip is tweeting, our head of media. We got our head of outbound sales, Adrian, like on the tweet train. It's honestly really funny. We've basically took a bunch of people at our company
Dude,
that we thought had
Adrian's
like
doing it?
really
Hell
engaged.
yeah. I need to go
Yeah.
follow. I need to go look at his stuff. I love Adrian.
I feel like Adrian have the best content, man. He's just gonna post about creating like little Rupinauts and his dog, and all of his stuff's
100%.
gonna go viral. But okay, so we're hiring a head of engineering. If anyone's looking for a job, Rupa Health is hiring. But Tara is interviewing a bunch of candidates, and almost half of them are like, "Yeah, the first place we heard about you guys was actually Twitter." So it's not just personal
It's so high
branding.
leverage.
Mhm.
It's so
It's
high
so high
leverage,
leverage.
especially
Yeah.
early stage. Like, yeah, yeah. Anyways, we've just, the inbound I get is insane. That's all I'm saying. Like that alone. I don't know if I've made even $1 off of my Twitter account, like
Mhm.
besides the terrible RPM that they pay out right now. But like the amount of inbound and like just the relationships through that is absolutely nuts. Like if you're a founder, especially a CEO founder, like and you're building some type of software, like what Tara is doing is going to be the biggest unlock for you guys to get good eng talent, like full stop.
Yep. Told Tara she needs to get to 100K followers by the end of the year. That's her 2024 Twitter goal. Honestly, though, we need to get her to start doing more stuff like this. Like, it doesn't even matter, like, the size of the podcast. We need to just get her to start creating more content. I'm really excited for that. But yeah,
You should
20
just, yeah,
2024
man,
is gonna be like our
just
year
have
of
her
our
have her
brand.
friends on. Like that's straight up it.
Mhm.
And be like, listen, like this is for personal branding for you. So it's like it's her talking to other
Yo.
CEOs that she knows,
Mhm.
and it's just an hour of her time. It's just like a catch up call, but it's in public, right? Like people live for that,
Cody.
especially for her. That's like a female founder. Like she could
Mhm.
crush it so hard.
Okay, so this is my dream, and I think they've had test episodes, and I really hope that this actually happens, but I think Tara and her brother and her dad might create, like, the Viswanathan, like, the podcast, and it would be, like,
100%.
those guys, and then they just, like, invite in their friends and stuff. It would be so freaking huge.
The mass.
Yeah, she's, like she's she's building a wildly I don't know the right word to properly describe this in a politically correct recorded way. But she's building a very strong following of loyal followers who go through all of her stuff, just like everything is
100%.
wild.
100%.
Um,
And it's just like how I'm thinking about it more and more is like, I just have leverage. Like media is leverage,
mhm,
right? Like
yeah,
why did old CEOs go buy newspapers? Right? Like
mhm,
why did the robber barons all do this? Right? It's because it gives them leverage and it's also a defense mechanism. So like
mhm,
if one of their competitors tried to slander them, they have this
mhm,
vehicle that they can come back at them at, right? And so
mhm,
to me, the Elon purchase of Twitter, like I've been saying, like
mhm,
everybody's been saying this, like this is that version. Like this is the new, like you don't buy the Washington Post, you buy a social media platform. Like that's what this new thing is, right? Like we're gonna see this happen more and more, where like these people, like CEOs, are gonna do this. Like they're gonna build or buy these media companies because it's a vehicle for them to
mhm.
basically like put out whatever it is that they're trying to promote. So, and I think that like it,
Cody, I'm so excited. I'm trying to figure out the numbers around this I can share, but we've been building our media with Rupa for like a long time now. But, like, 2024, it's, like, really starting to compound. Like, I think our magazine by the end of the year
how
is
many
gonna
years has it
be
been? It's been 4 years, right?
yeah. It's
No,
it's just wild thinking about, like, the start of 2023, we were doing, like, maybe 10K page views a month. Now, at the end of the year, we're doing 200K a month. At the end of next year, we're gonna be at, like, 1,000,000 plus a month.
Dude, and that's not
And
even the
then,
impressions
like,
that you're
the new
getting on Google, right? Like that's the whole other
mm,
piece of this. Like
mm,
that's just traffic. Like think about the impression. Like if I wanted to go pay for that CPM, like just to throw out numbers, we'll say there's a 1% click through rate, right? So that's 100 times 200,000. So what is that? Did I
I can
math
tell you,
right?
Cody, we bid on it. We bid on it. Like, we
Yeah,
have
that's
organic, we
20
have
million
paid.
impressions that
We
you get for
spend
free. Yes.
We spend millions of dollars on paid search, and our organic is bigger now. And I can't wait. I can't wait until I can actually like share the graphs and everything and show like retroactively. But 2024 is like the year of search for us. Is our media is like actually going to be absolutely massive.
Are you doing
And
social search yet? Well, I'm seeing this more and more with Gen
like
Z and
TikTok and
millennials are using TikTok, yeah, in particular for their
mhm,
search engine. And this is actually another interesting idea. Like,
mhm,
why is that happening? Like, my hypothesis
mhm,
is that this is the same thing of like, they don't trust like Google anymore, right? Like,
mhm,
why is content that's raw and unedited going viral? It's
mhm.
because people
Yeah.
like don't trust all of the edited stuff anymore. So with TikTok, they're searching there because there's like a face attached to the answer. So if I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, recipe for XYZ, or if I search like how to do ABC for taxes, right? There's
Yeah.
this human at the other end of that that like I can point at and be like, no, Jessica is full of shit. Like she gave me this information and it's wrong, right? Or like Rob,
Mhm.
he's not even an accountant. Like, how is he talking about this? Right? Rather than some nameless, faceless like blog post article that half of it is written by AI and not reality.
Okay. I actually understand this, Cody. So, first of all, there's always been a ton of search traffic for videos, right? Like for like the last couple of decades, it's not true anymore, but for the last couple of decades, or however long YouTube has been around, like searching for videos on YouTube it was like the primary way you get traffic, right? Shorts are incredible value to time. So if you just want to like figure out how to do something really quickly, shorts are like the best way to get that done. Like I'm really dumb and trying to right me personally, this is true. I'm like trying to figure out how to like lift weight correctly. So I'm like, how do I squat correctly? Like how do I do like a deadlift correctly, you know? And I don't want a 5-minute video being like, here's how you squat correctly. Like I just want like someone being like, boom, 7 seconds, here's how you do a squat, right?
Yeah.
So this is
Give me
super
the bullet list and give me the visuals.
yeah, so it's super important because if it needs it's like it needs to go one direction or the other. Like either you need to take your 5-minute video and you need to give all the valuable information in 60 seconds, or you need to explain something really hard and complicated that takes 20 to 30 minutes to explain.
I think you
Like
should
and like you
like
yeah, you gotta do both. You gotta do both, right? But you gotta figure out what is important. What are you trying to express? And then does
yeah,
it deserve to be 60 seconds or does it deserve to be 30 minutes? And then you need to go in one direction. Because it's the
totally.
shit in the middle that doesn't perform really well right now.
100%. It's either a super in-depth content from an expert or it's that same expert
Mhm.
giving the high level version of that or somebody else doing like a remix of it. I want to
Yep.
coin this term right now. I'm gonna and call it just in time content. So like,
I love it.
yeah. So like when I'm looking for that short term video, like you're just
Mhm.
describing with like
Mhm.
that squat thing, like, I don't want a whole
Yeah.
educational thing that's 20 minutes.
Mhm.
I just need an answer like right now. And so that's just in time content. And like there's gonna
Mhm.
be more and more like there's a huge opportunity to make that. And especially with all the channels moving towards this, right? With like YouTube Shorts, with Instagram
Yep.
Reels, like TikTok, it's all like you don't need followers anymore. I think that's the thing that's like I'm really trying to realize and like understand.
Mhm.
Like if the content will go viral on these platforms with or without it. Right?
Mhm.
It's good and it like
Yeah.
provides the value. Now it's just a numbers game. So I'm like over here and I'm like, okay, you're doing the tradition is like post once a day on LinkedIn. And I'm like, how do I post 5 times a day? And it's like the tradition is like
Mhm.
3 to 5 tweets on Twitter. And it's like, okay, how do I post 10 tweets per day? Right. And each of them are providing some type of entertainment or value. And then looking at all these channels like YouTube Shorts, okay, how do I do 5 videos per day or whatever the max is that I see the greatest
Mhm.
result? And then just like
Yeah.
do that over and over again and do that with multiple channels. Like why don't I have 10 different Twitters that are all doing the same ideas, the same different variations? But maybe it's like parody accounts that are like doing the opposite of like what I said, right? So I say this and then it like
Mm.
writes the contradictory version of that. I don't know. Like I think it can be both of those things. And that's what I'm really interested in thinking about. Sorry,
Mhm.
interested in experimenting with this year from a content standpoint.
That's fascinating. You're not wrong. You know, like some channels you need to build up a subscriber count, but like Twitter, if you have like 1,000 or 2,000 followers and like you say something really engaging, like it blows up, right?
Totally.
So
Look, IG, if you have an IG account with like
mhm,
5,000 followers and you do a reel that's fire, like it'll
mhm,
go. Like it'll go like if it's engaging. Like YouTube is even crazier. It's like 1,000
Mhm.
subs and you have like a
Yeah,
lot.
no, I don't think your subs matter at all
Yeah,
for the shorts.
yeah.
I'm almost 100% confident it doesn't even factor in your subscriber count at
Are you
to an
guys
ex
library of content? I'm curious about how you guys are like at like in a company are actually thinking about this.
on
Realizing that like your library of your past content,
Mhm,
like half the time people don't even know what's in there. And so
mhm,
something that we're starting to build is basically like a search engine for your
mhm,
past content. So like say I want
mhm,
to make a ton of clips. Again, we'll just use
mhm.
telehealth as the example.
Yeah.
Like I have this library, it's all transcribed, and I'm like, you know, do make me clips based on telehealth, right? And it
Mhm.
goes to that entire back catalog and it pulls out clips related to telehealth because that's what we just saw go viral on, YouTube Shorts. That's the
Yeah.
example.
We don't do anything too sophisticated, but we definitely, like, repost our bangers, you know?
Yeah,
Like, Tara just did this, like, she had this one thing, she's like, "I posted about a candidate, and the candidate said this thing," and, like, that tweet, like, blew up, and
totally.
then we had Lindsay, the chief of staff we hired, who that tweet was about, like, start tweeting about it, and Lindsay was like, "This is about me," and then, like, Tara reshares that, and then, like, that blows up again, like, all over. Her tweet that she did about, like, living with her brother and her boyfriend, and then her parents are underneath of her, like, we occasionally will, like, bring that back up, and then all of a sudden, like, that continuously, like, feeds the cycle.
Dude, it's the same
Um,
ideas. My most
yeah,
viral tweet last year was like, it's I think it was something like, it's not an API wrapper with a tailwind front end, it's a money printer. And so I just did like variations of that over and
mhm,
over and over again. Like same idea. And like that you're basically taking the same hook, but you're adding some
mhm,
type of other value after it. Is how I'm thinking about it more and more. So like
mhm,
I use that like it's an API wrapper with a tailwind front end. It just bought me a vacation home, right? Or whatever.
mhm.
Like some version of that. And like it's those same it's funny
That's
that what we are
fascinating.
to connect these dots, like
Mhm,
that agency that we were talking about earlier that's using their like multiple social accounts on each of the platforms. It's just taking that idea, but it's using it in a different channel, right? So it's like, oh, like here's the viral content that happened on Twitter. Look, we're just going to remix that over and over. Here's the viral content that happened on YouTube Shorts. We're just going to remix that over and over. Same hook, just like different variations of the value that it provides. So it's like hook, insight, and then like call to action is how I'm thinking about it more and more.
that's fascinating. I love that.
So talk to me about hiring, like with this as a
Mhm,
vehicle. Like it would, so say like Twitter as an example.
mhm.
Like, is there? So you're like, yo, we're hiring, a head of engineering. Like, what do you see the response be to that? Like, is it just like, is it like, are you shocked by the number, or is it kind of like, oh, this is what I expected, or what does that look like? Or how are you even
Okay,
doing it? Maybe is a better
yeah.
question. Like to get good
So,
candidates.
I'm not shocked by, like, the number of people that apply. So, like, we do the standard thing, right? You post on Twitter, you say, "Hey, everybody, I'm hiring for head of engineering, I'm hiring for this role." And you get some people that like it and like, "Wow, that's so cool," and they engage and blah, blah, blah. What's really cool is our outbound efforts where, like, we deeply believe I don't know if I can say it's whatever. We believe that some of our best candidates have come from outbounding efforts, that they were people who are happy in their jobs, and we had to reach out to them and steal these A players. And it's those people that are, like, willing to talk to us and then being like, "Yeah, I knew about you guys from Twitter." That's what
Oh,
blows my
interesting.
mind. It's
So it's
like
not
not even
actually inbound. It's like they're
mm,
auditing. They're
yeah.
auditing you as like being legit with
Mhm.
like your social presence. Super interesting.
It's like what happened with our outbound sales team, where when we first started outbound sales and no one knew who the hell we were, like, it
Yeah,
was a really
totally.
horrible effort. But, like, now we call people up and like, "Oh my god, I've totally heard of Rupa Health before. Like, I've been thinking about using you guys."
Totally.
It's that,
Totally. It's like
but with
why the fuck you do a
hiring.
podcast and cold email everybody
Mhm.
every episode, right? It's because they start to know it's just it's an awareness thing, which makes your sales team's job way easier.
Mhm.
It's just old school marketing with a
It's,
new medium.
yeah, it's like the real value of
I'm gonna need to
social
make a
is
podcast for fucking podcast producers. I'm just
just for podcast producing.
oh my
I don't know, I think that's the thing though, Cody. Like, if you build like 1,000,000 followers, like, it's not just the inbound and the ability to post, it's your ability to outbound and to reach out to anyone in the world and for them to pick up the phone because they're like, "Oh, I know this person. Like, I want to talk to them.
plus
They seem
one.
cool and
Like
interesting."
we
Right?
we saw this with like I did cold DMs when I first had a small
Mhm.
Twitter account reception, super shit. I cold DM now, and like I think I'm only at like 16K or something, but the
Mhm.
response rate is so much higher. And it's really interesting when you compare that to like email, because like
Mhm.
with email, it's like there's none of that social metric built into like that
Mhm.
social proof of the follower count of that individual. And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
when you have a larger account that looks like it's active and people engage with it, like I guess what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say is like cold outbound is actually better in social because there's social proof built into it. And it will probably perform better than email because there's social proof built into it. I wonder if you could include that in the emails where it's like, like images of like your followers on Twitter or image, like a screenshot even. I'm going to test this. I'll come back. But like including that social proof in the cold email. So like you get the effect
Mhm.
that you're getting with like Twitter, like with the social media account, but it's in a medium that with like volumes can be way higher, et cetera.
It's fascinating. I didn't even think about that. I wish our users were on Twitter. Our users totally are on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like if someone messages you and they have like 100,000 Twitter followers, like you send them a message back and be like, "Hey, bro, or
What's up?
girl.
So
Yeah, what's up?" Wild. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm really curious to see how this scales, like, just in the next year. I think you totally are right that there's a wave of people, like, focusing on realizing media is important, realizing their personal brand is important. That's crazy that it's, like, taken us this long to, like, get it through our skulls,
I just
but
think that the
it's totally
barriers
a trend.
have been removed. Like my
Mhm,
process right now is like I take this out of Riverside, I drop
mhm,
it into Descript, I studio sound, I cut out the ums and ahs, I like reduce the word gaps. So if there's any, so there's like no like
mhm,
2 second, whatever difference. And then I take that, I drop it into Swell, repurposes all the content for me. And we're just starting to build social media scheduling. Like we will probably have it out in like honestly when this drops. And so like that we're just starting with like I think we're going to do YouTube Shorts first, just because we're already verified by YouTube for their API access and usage. But like
interesting.
then you'll be able to like I can give it raw materials, it'll make the content, and then I'll be able
And
to
then just
schedule it.
schedule it.
Yeah, and then just schedule it. And then where we can take it from there is like, okay, now we can pull from the API the insights of like what's the most viral content. Okay, can
Mhm,
we go back to that back catalog and let's
and then
find more
redo
of
it.
that viral content, and then we just created the growth loop, right? So anyway, I'm pretty excited about it. We didn't want to do this, but it's like people keep asking for it. And so we're like,
Mhm.
all right, just like suck up more and more of that process of that workflow that they're doing as much as possible, basically.
Okay, so what's really interesting about that, Cody, is that I think it highlights one of the places where there's a lot left to build with AI tools. It's getting the AI to go out into the world and do things. I'm an investor in a bunch of AI companies, and it's interesting where like what what needs to be built isn't necessarily like the AI, but it's like hooking up the AI to other things. It's
Yes.
like give making the AI have the capability to like go and do stuff. So like
Yes,
in
dude.
this case, it's like cool. We take the content, the AI does its thing, and then go talk to the social media and work with all these other systems and go and do
Yes.
that thing. I I think this
But
is
now
happening with
just
like
subscribe
customer
as a social
support.
media
Just
manager,
yeah. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's what or probably 3 team members. It's a video editor,
Mhm.
it's a social media manager, it's like, you know, maybe a VA over the top of it. But like that job, like again, now how I'm thinking about this, it's like cool.
Mhm.
I sit down, we talk for whatever, maybe 45
Yeah.
minutes, an hour,
And
and
then you're done.
you're done. You're done. And it's just like
Mhm.
goes and it's now proliferates and it's out in the world. And like what happens when I connect 10 different YouTube accounts, Cody Schneider clip, Cody Schneider reels, right? All did. And it's automatically scheduling all these different clip variations to that, right?
Mhm.
And it's just like, I mean, Max and I are talking about like, oh, well, what if we just have like a switch where it's like, turn this switch on and it will just like mine your old content and it's going to
Mhm.
create clips based off of the data that it's like analyzing. Like that's
Mhm.
totally doable. Or it's like, okay, cool. Like this clip, here's the transcript of it. It's about this idea. Go find me more ideas in the back catalog that's like about this. And then it's just like,
Mhm.
again, that just runs like it's not. And obviously, like it depends. Like I'm just thinking about it as like, how do you automate it entirely? There's totally a way
Mhm.
to get humans into the loop of that, and like that's something I don't really want to do. Like I don't want to build a video
Yeah.
editor, but there's other things that could be really cool. Like we have been experimenting with taking like a 30-second clip and then we're like, okay, like
Mhm.
make an image based off of this part of the transcript. And so then
Mhm.
it like adds B-roll to that conversation. So like imagine like we're talking right now and it like
Mhm.
flashes an image, right? And then that's
Uh,
just AI generated by Dolly. And then it
yeah,
does that
but
every 5 seconds.
have you seen those AI video generators?
Yes. Stable diffusion or stability video. I
Yeah,
can't.
I don't know what it is, but yeah, I see him on
Yeah,
Twitter and I'm
stability
like, "Damn."
AI, stable diffusion or stable video. And I'm just like, imagine that, right? But it's
Yeah,
like, I have a
just
sort file
automatically
with this
inserted.
content.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's totally doable. Totally doable. It's just like, I mean, our biggest challenge, and this is the problem with self-funding, it's just like there's so much we need and can build. It's just like,
Focus.
yeah, exactly. It's like what signal through noise. And it's like, I can't go and hire, 10 eng tomorrow. Right. So it's like,
Mhm.
I could, I mean, we're starting to experiment with offshore teams like more
Mhm.
and more and just seeing like the quality output. But
Where are you doing that? I'm curious.
Israel, dude, just the
Really?
absolute mecca. It's crazy. And they all are just hungry and like,
Mhm.
yeah, we became friends with these kids that are out there. They're like 22, 23, and they were gonna go raise money. And I was like, dude, you should just like see if you can do this without it. Like build, just do a company and see what happens.
Mhm.
I think they just got to like 20K MRR. Like they're rich. They're now like their life is like it's
Different.
done. And they can
Yeah.
just yeah, it's different. They can go do their next. And so that was like in the span of 8 months that
Mhm.
happened. Right. And so, anyways, we got connected with them, and he runs this like WhatsApp group with all of these engineers that are like 17, 18. They're recent recruits to the military, like cybersecurity, and they have like
Mhm.
a window of like 12 months where they can just like they're already recruited, but they need like shit to do, and so they like
Yeah.
we're just gonna start hiring from that is what it looks like.
Wow, that's fascinating. I've been looking about where I can hire offshore eng too.
I've heard Brazil is good,
Yeah.
but just because they have like the largest tech sector in,
Mhm.
in South America, I haven't had a ton of success with. I have with like Eastern Europe, but it's just the time
Mhm.
zones. It's just an absolute
Hard.
nightmare, right? So it's trying to figure that out. But the the Israelis are like, yo, we'll stay up till like 4 a.m. We don't care. They're like they're 18-year-old kids just hacking away, right? So it's like
Mhm.
they'd be programming either way. That's like kind of like where it's at. And so like that's how we're looking at like tapping into it. Right. And again, this is just a different way to do it. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong, but who knows?
Um, it's really interesting, especially in the age of AI, where it's so much easier to become a programmer. What I've tried to split it into is that your like A plus talent that's making really important hard decisions
Yep.
needs to be like US, San Francisco software
Yes.
engineers. But people that are like taking a specked out roadmap and then just going and executing on that roadmap,
Yes.
I don't I think that can be outsourced.
100%.
Um,
That's how Max and I are thinking about this is like basically like,
yeah.
it's just a Trello board where it's like
Mhm.
5 different ends. They all are in different time zones and they pull across, right? Like it specs,
Yeah.
like Max is there as a resource. Like
Mhm.
he has all the knowledge on the code base. So he becomes available and like there's certain overlap times. Like we require them to be like online, simultaneously with Max at XYZ hours or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'll like as we, start to ship on this, I'll talk about it more, like just like what we're seeing. But
This is good content. You should make like a little graphic that shows like the breakdown of like how work needs to be done. Where because like we live in like a crazy time, right? Like everywhere's remote. You can hire from anywhere in the world, and we also have AI. So it's like, what is the work that needs to be done by like US tech workers? What can be offshored to like remote workers, and
can
like
I tell
what
you
can be
how I'm
completely automated with AI?
Yeah, I gotta tell you this, how
Please.
we're doing customer service. So, like,
Okay.
traditionally, hiring people was, like, hard, right? Because it's like
Hmm.
you're at a price point that makes sense on these
Hmm.
offshore. So I was like, "Okay, I wonder if I can just build, like, a GPT, right? That
Hmm.
they can go and query the questions that people are coming from." So there's still a human filter, but now they have, like, a chatbot that they can go ask questions to. Like, the customer asks this,
Mm.
like,
Hmm.
"Can we do that? Is that possible?" And
Hmm.
then what it does is it will write a response for them in English
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
feels native. So it doesn't feel like I'm talking to somebody in the Philippines or in Colombia, right? So suddenly I just took this offshore talent and like I can pay them a good salary for what they are. Like,
Hmm.
we're hiring like a bunch of young, like recent grads out of college, right? It's like,
Hmm.
I'm doing this right now. And like for them, like I can just throw them into the fire. And then here's this thing that's like teaching them along. And if there's a
Hmm.
question that it can't answer, then they can reach
Just
out to
talk
me,
to it.
right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
they're 80% of the way there with this
Mhm.
this custom chatbot that we have internally that's like our customer service, Swell AI customer service chatbot. It's literally just a GPT that we share with them is like what we're doing. So now imagine that. So like this actually idea, this came from somebody else that was using a chat with PDF as a way to like onboard their like customer service team. So like the chat, like they basically like wrote a 100-page PDF on like everything related to the product.
Yeah.
And then you could chat with it and ask it questions, right? And then that would help them basically create these responses. But I'm like, what if we even take it a step further and we like build the tone, style, and voice that we want the brand to come off in? Like, hey, be super friendly, use emojis, like all of these things. And then that human is just like making sure, like, oh, they're just validating like yes or no, is this right or no? And then what that does is like it opens them up so that they can do even more documentation on the product. So then they'll live in our knowledge base and they're going to write these articles out based off of like, demos that I do on Loom. And then we just take those transcripts and then they're turning those into like, articles that are tutorial.
You know what I don't understand, Cody? Everyone keeps saying that, hey, the real winners of AI is going to be like these massive behemoths and that the value is going to accrue to like the people at the top. But the big companies, like, why hasn't HubSpot done that yet? Like HubSpot should be looking at all of my emails and all my phone calls and like giving me a chat bot to like talk to it and like spit out information. I should be able to connect that to my Guru and my Notion, and people in my sales team should be able to query that. And like by now, it's been a year. Like HubSpot should have had that functionality built out. And then we have hacky people. We have hacky people like you. They're just like, and that breaks my brain. I don't understand why like these really large organizations have like not been able to stay with innovation when it's
I guarantee it's legal. I guarantee it's legal.
So?
Hell yeah, dude. We're having this with enterprise where it's like, they don't know even how it works. So we're having to like educate them. Like, this is how an open source model functions. And it's totally, this isn't their expertise. Of course, like, we're happy to do this, but it's like, that's what we're coming at, like, so imagine like I'm HubSpot and like I'm a C-suite person and like, I'm there to not get fired. Like, like an employee's like real goal a lot of the times, right? It's different in early stage and depending on the company you work at. But like most of the time, like the actions I make are so that I don't get fired. And so with that as context, what I'm trying to say is that like these large corps, there's probably people that are trying to do this, but they're going to be fighting legal. They're going to be trying to get buy-in internally. There's all the political bullshit that happens. So everybody's like, oh, they're not adopting it fast. It's like, yeah, they're not adopting it fast because it's like 5 years until like that's how long some of these decisions make to even like be apparent. Also, this happens all the time. Like the other thing of this, like I'm going to comment on your thought of like, oh, the top play, like, is there just going to be these winners? Like, OpenAI is going to be this winner or Microsoft is going to be this winner. I totally disagree because there are email senders that are valued more than SendGrid, but SendGrid is powering them. Like Klaviyo or whatever. Like, and don't quote me on this, but that idea is like, that's the core of this idea, right? Like sometimes these base level like solutions, they aren't actually the value, right? It's the thing that's built on top of it is where all the value is captured. And this happens all the time, like in so many different places, like where base level technology is not actually the thing where like, all the value is it can be extracted from.
Yeah, no, we think about that a lot, right? Like we have our API and then we have our core product, and it's like, which is more valuable? Well, when people order through the core product, not necessarily the API. Yeah, I think it depends on like how large and how fractured is the market, But like if you can capture everything at the top or like a big chunk of that, like that's worth a lot, It doesn't matter what market you're in. Wow, it's gonna be crazy.
That's the pod.
Yeah, love it.
Love it, man. Stoked to do this. So fun. I miss it. So thanks for coming on.
Bye, friends.